Hey, it's BaileyWiki. This is the March 2025 Design With Me series where I build Foundry scenes using free modules and tools. All assets are BaileyWiki assets, available with a 1-month Patreon sub, but these tools work with any creator's assets. So unless I say otherwise, all modules are free. Let's dive into the next map. Okay, let's get our next map underway. Let's use the single diorama template again. We'll duplicate that. And then let's grab it to our active area here and we'll start working on it. And let's see what we want to add to it here. This time we're using the regular asset browser just to show you there's two ways to use it. This one gives you like folders and some other looks, which you may or may not find helpful. But we'll grab the swamp diorama tile and let's drop that around. We'll copy it and we'll paste it around here. We'll worry about size and what's on top of what later. All right, so let's move this middle one to the top. And I might want to use that to randomize. So let's go ahead and do it now. Let's press it and see what kind of inspiration we get. All right, so we're getting some cool stuff here. I really like that water down in the bottom left corner, so I'm going to keep that. I'm just going to double click these until I feel like they're making sense. Let's see what we can do with the middle one here. Generally, we want to find something that matches the other artwork, sort of generally speaking. Get kind of like this. I feel like I think I know how I want to tell the story already. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking how players might move through this map. Let's make a nice big one up here in the corner. Now let's double click it and see if we can get, I kind of like that art there. We don't need that anymore. We're not going to do any big randomization. Drop a little test player because we'll be using him throughout. Like that opens up that path above there. That's really good. Just trying some different options here. I like that entrance. I feel like maybe that entrance will be the exit or the entrance that the players are looking for. Now I want to use some swampy sounds here. I really want the ambiance to sound like a swamp. So I'm going to the towns module, searching swamp. I'm using dig down. I can also look for these in the mass edit browser. I think it's just habit. At this point, I still use dig down for sounds. I happen to know there's some frog sounds that sound pretty good. I just added those as a second sound over top my other sound. I'm just going to scale these up with Shift D, and my mouse wheel and Alt key. For some reason, those previews can get out of control. So I found if I hover over another one, it'll turn them off. That should feel like a nice swampy environment. Just changing the order of some of these tiles here, bringing them up or down. above or below each other. Really like that lake with the, or that pond with the lily pads. All right, so let's see, what can we do from here? Like something around this entrance I want to dress up. Well, first of all, let's get a boat. Let's get a nice little rowboat out here on the water. Double click it, move it around while it's in preview mode. You notice it's got a special region there. That means players will stick to it. I'm also just going to turn all these off so I don't accidentally double click them and make them randomize, because these are all matte enabled, those pieces that randomize. All right, now I want like a lake sound. So this time I'm actually using Mass Edit to find it. And we found one. We're just going to drop that right in the middle. Let's press Shift D to scale it up so it kind of covers the lake. And let's see how we want to set it. We'll turn the volume down a little bit. Get rid of volume easing. And we're going to actually turn the sound off on that boat just because it comes with its own little sound of like lake and sloshing. We don't need two of them. Pretty good. We can hear our lake, our pond. Now I'm looking for some pieces. I feel like maybe there's this old kind of Aztec style temple. I'm just dragging out some artwork here because I kind of want to construct some kind of egress, like a doorway or something like that. I'm just grabbing these pieces that have, the temple keyword in them. Just kind of dragging them out, get them situated, seeing where they might go, right? And there's something called a stone shape where you can get some of that like really good Aztec kind of textures to it. So these look pretty good. These feel like a couple of not just pillars, but like, door frame components. And this would make a really good, overhead component. Just scale it up there a little bit. And we're just doing the same thing I do in Dungeon Draft. We're just kid bashing things together. We're just saying, hey, like, give me a texture I can work with, and then I'll just make a doorway out of it just by putting a few tiles together. So I think the texture is right here, and you just need to work on the layout. And let's make this an overhead tile, just so, again, our players can walk under it. It gives them a little sense of, depth. Do the same thing with these. We'll use Mass Edit to make them all 10 feet, always visible. And let's also restrict the light so we can put a torch under there and it'll look good being occluded by those pieces. And let's just change our layout just slightly. Yeah, I like that. It's very believable as an old entrance to some kind of old temple. Of course, you can use other parts of the library to actually use the temple. There's tons of temple rooms and things that you can just have ready to go in another scene once your players are inside. So let's go ahead and wall this thing in the way that we think we want to control our players' sort of exploration. And I kind of want them to wind through this map kind of in a clockwise direction. So we'll use our terrain walls again just to be able to show all the artwork, but be able to make it also block their vision from seeing what's beyond it. It's pretty good. I think I want this to be a separator. So let's open that up and kind of make that wall go all the way across. Again, you may add more walls when you get to actually playing this, depending on how much freedom you give your players to go exploring. It's pretty good. I think we probably want a couple of torches. Let's do some skeletons. So here's a bunch of skeletons. These all come together. If we add those to a brush, we can make it so just one deploys at a time. And I'm just kind of trying to make sure this is scaled right. So I'm kind of looking at the size of the squares there, making sure these aren't too big. I'll put that skeleton up on the wall. I like that. And here's another like hanging skeleton. I think he would go well on a wall too. It's just something to freak your players out, a little bit more ominous. Remember, you can delete all these things when you go to actually play this map. I'm going to add a long drop shadow to a couple of them, so it really looks like they're set off that wall there and kind of hanging. And now if I look up banners, it's also under decoration, hangings, and then flags, I believe. You can find these animated banners, and I like these. Just a couple. You don't want to have a lot of animation on your map. Just a couple to give it some life. Right? So these look really old and ratty, and I just really like the look of them. And we'll go ahead and add a drop shadow to those too, so it looks like they're hanging off the wall a little bit. That's pretty good. It's a nice little feel for that little area. Now that boat works, of course. We can put players on it and we can move them around the map. But as I'm always want to do, I want to hide something in the water. Now you may have just a bad guy, so you may want to delete this tile later. But I was like, hey, you know what? Let's put a treasure chest over here. And if we go to our effects and we type the underwater effect, we'll get this. And it's just a bunch of TMFX animations. Then we drop the tile opacity, and essentially it looks like, a chest that's floating under and obscured by water. So drop that opacity again. And now we can have that be interactive, right? So we can have it invisible to our players at first. We can make it visible. They pass a check, they can click on it and it could open up and something bad inside, a trap or, an item to find. So let's just kind of pre-set it up for that. We'll say, okay, when anyone clicks it, we will do something, right? In this case, we'll just send a notification. What that's going to do is send a notification to presumably you as the GM, just to remind you to come in here and make it do something, right? You can decide what it does, if it does anything. That's just a little reminder when you click it that it's mat enabled. When I publish these maps, I end up putting a bunch of map notes around of things that you as the GM want to know about, and then you can delete those map notes when you go to play it. Okay, so let's go ahead and worry about lighting again. Maybe there shouldn't be lighting in this scene. Maybe it's maybe there hasn't been people here, but for now we'll put some lighting in, and we'll drop. I always like to put and do my lighting when it's dark. Just kind of helps see how the lighting helps you wayfind and how it picks up the artwork. I think something here by this entrance is probably pretty appropriate. I like how it's shining on the statues because they're not overhead tiles, but it's not shining on the overhead. I think it makes a good effect. Probably delete all of these. That's feeling pretty good. Really, really lightly lit, right? Even the light on that rowboat can be snuffed out, so you may want to start with that, not lit at all. Let's test it out. Let's see if our rowboat's working. So we'll walk our player onto it, and then we will grab the boat itself, and we can see our player is successfully riding it. And we can snuff that out just to test it. Okay, now we're off the rowboat. We're unlinked automatically from it. Keep walking around. Our players find this obscured trail, and then finally this entrance to the temple. Maybe that's their destination. Pretty good. We're only a few minutes in and we've made a pretty compelling map. Our players would love this. Kind of reset everything where it should be. Maybe the boat shouldn't be there. Maybe a player has to go swim across to get it, right? And something terrible happens. Let's go ahead and give this one a name. We'll call it Ruins in the Swamp. And I think we've got another great map. So that's it for this map. Grab these assets on my Patreon, link in the description if you want to support the channel as well. If you enjoyed this, subscribe, hit the bell for updates, and drop a like or a comment. Your questions actually help the community and the algorithm. Thanks for watching and have fun making your maps.